Thank you for letting me jump into your life for a few minutes. I always have something exciting I'm reading or doing or learning, and I just need an outlet. So thank you for being that for me right now. I'm going to share some insights that I'm learning from Dr. Mindy Pell's Fast Like a Girl. I know it's a little bit unusual for a man to be reading that, but we talk to a lot of people about health, and I am a big believer that fasting is absolutely an amazing way to regain your health. However, for a lot of people, it's just too much. So that's why I'm excited for our 90-day lifestyle transformation. That's what me and my wife do. That's what this program's all about, to help you kind of transition. It's first steps into better health. And for some people, it's enough. For other people, they have to go a little bit deeper into a dive, something like fasting. But if that's just out of your mind right now, no problem. But this is still amazing information on some principles that will help you in your health and weight loss journey. So, Dr. Pells recommends or says that there are 5 things that affect our health and wellness: calorie restriction, poor food quality, surges in our cortisol, increased toxic load in our food and environment, and a one size fits all approach. So I'm just going to run through these things pretty quick and give a synopsis basically of just the first chapter of this amazing book. So the first thing that she addresses is calorie restriction. This is one of the most difficult ways to lose weight. So the old thinking was you have this metabolic set point, right? So you eat more calories than this, then you're going to gain weight. You eat less calories, you're going to lose weight. Makes sense. Calories in, calories out. A very scientific way of thinking about the body. Very measured. Sounds like very man thinking. But this calorie in, calorie out thing and thinking you have a metabolic set point isn't necessarily true. You can raise or lower that based on your activities. So when you start restricting calories and exercising more, your calorie set point starts to go down. It's like, oh, you're only going to give me 1,500 calories a day? Well, then I'm going to say to the body, that's all I need, because the body loves homeostasis. It loves everything just to stay the same. There's this old saying that you don't want to be happy, you want to be comfortable. And that's what your body wants. It just wants to keep everything the same, to be as efficient as possible. So when you lower your metabolic set point by restricting your calories, yeah, you lose weight right away, but long term, it's typically not sustainable. At some point, something's going to come into your field of vision, into your olfactory senses, whatever. You're going to have this desire where you want something, and boom, diet over. Or you start eating more, you stop exercising, can't keep up, whatever. So once you regain, go back to your old metabolic set point, then you start to gain weight. So Dr. Pells references this study from Minnesota. It's a Minnesota starvation study. It was done in like the 60s. And there's these guys who they basically got into a deprived calorie state of 1,500 calories. And these guys lost some weight at first, but then when they got restored back to their 2,000 calories a day, they gained 10% more weight, and their depression and their anxiety stayed with them. Does that sound familiar? So that's why a calorie in, calorie out diet isn't great for you. And I'm going to get into other reasons for that. Our second path to health is about poor food quality. So we don't have great food quality in America. And recently I heard somebody on Instagram was saying, like, well, how come everybody's picking on food? It's like, because it's abundant. It's a huge problem. We all have to keep picking on this thing because it's a big issue. Now, there was this war that was waged on fat. Fat is the enemy. And I'm not saying to eat a bunch of fat. I'm not one of these go eat, bullet coffee or butter diet or a carnivore diet. That doesn't seem very balanced either. So in the absence of fat, though, we need something to taste good because fat is delicious. It hits the tongue. And we're not robots. And I love that about being a human. You're not a robot. It's not you just eat this pill and eat this thing and it's a black and white world and you measure all your food and you eat this much. We don't live like that. We live as humans. We eat for social reasons, for all kinds of reasons. And we want our food to taste good. So when fat was shelved, then guess what takes its place? Something that tastes good. Sugar. Sugar comes into our system. And the problem with eating a lot of sugar or artificial sweeteners is it can raise your insulin levels. So all this insulin starts getting kicked out in your body. And the insulin receptor sites eventually are like, hey, too much insulin. Like all this insulin's coming out. It's like, oh, okay, we can take some of it, but it's too much. So the rest of it has to go away. And guess where that extra insulin goes? It gets stored as fat. So too much sugar. A good rule of thumb on this is to just avoid processed foods. Avoid anything that has a sweetener in it. Anything where you don't recognize some of those ingredients, just skip it. The Fast Like a Girl book, she compares insulin, over getting too much insulin, too much sugar in your body, is kind of like when you start asking your mate to do a task. You ask them over and over and over and over, and eventually they become deaf, and they're like, I can't hear you anyways. Same thing when you give your body too much insulin, too much sugar, eventually your insulin receptor sites are like, whatever, we'll just put this over here. Stored as fat. Not great. So the third reason why you might be gaining weight or have disease or a lack of health in your life is constant cortisol surges. And again, this can be from dieting. Sometimes you spike your cortisol by having this mindset, I've got to lose weight, I've got to compare. They lost weight, I want to do this. So trying to count your calories, putting it into that little app where you figure out how many calories you've eaten today, that can raise your cortisol levels. And I love this quote from the book. It says, cortisol is the enemy of insulin. You can't be in a state of stress and build health at the same time. So you have to take care of yourself, even over exercising. I'm not saying don't exercise, but trying to force your body into health doesn't work. The body cannot be forced into it. You have to take care of yourself. So a lot of these new watches have little reminders to stop and breathe. Take some time to do some box breathing. Box breathing is when you do 4 seconds of breath in, pause for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, pause for 4 seconds. 4 in, 4 pause, 4 out, 4 pause. Just do that every hour. Take a minute. Take some time at the end of the day to make a list. Why do we make lists? It's because we forget. So just make a list of things that you're thankful for. That can lower your cortisol levels. Now, there's going to be things that happen in this world that are going to affect us. But it's really important to have a healthy way to deal with stress, because you cannot get healthy in a state of stress. And when you are stressed, your body will take the food and it stores it as fat. Simple. Or you start to break down your immune system. It can result in inflammation. Stress is so toxic for you. I don't want to stress you out. So I'll move on to the next thing. But just be careful with the diet, calories in, calorie out, that can really add to your stress level. Having a community is so important. That's another thing that we really offer with our 90-day transformation programs. All right, the fourth thing is an increased toxic load. I learned this word from this book. If this is the only thing I learned from the book, I'm thankful for this word. It's called Obesogens. And it's exactly what it is. It's chemicals that cause you to become obese. And there are tons of these obesogens in our environment. That's one of the reasons that BPAs are so bad. You've heard of BPA, and that's what a lot of our food has been stored in. These chemicals get into us, and your body's like, what is this? It's not food. I don't know what to do with it. It stores it as fat. That also gives you a new way of thinking about the fat in your body. You can look down and be thankful. Without that fat, you might be really, really sick. Fat stores toxins. I've learned that from a lot of other books. A lot of health people say this. Fat stores toxins. So there's all these obesogens, these chemicals that are in our food and in our environment that can cause you to gain weight, but your body's actually protecting you. That's when people are talking about detoxing. When you start to lose weight, sometimes you start to feel a little bit more ill because these toxins are coming out. So it's important to lose weight in a healthy way. You don't want to just dump a whole bunch of it. That's why it's important to also have super nutrition as you are losing weight. So these obesogens can get in your system. Two of the big ones are monosodium glutamate, MSG. For that, I've always thought, what's so bad about MSG? It just makes everything taste good. Well, it's an obesogen. Your body doesn't recognize it as food and tucks it away as fat. The other thing are soy protein isolates. And soy protein isolates and MSG are all over the place in health shakes. So a lot of health and weight loss shakes have these because they help the food to taste better. that's a problem because you're drinking a shake for weight loss, and your body's getting these obesogens and storing them as fat. So that doesn't help. That's why our products are whole food, plant-based. We use a rice bran extract, for example, that helps to lower your desire for food. It blocks some of the receptor sites for hunger, very similar to what Ozempic does, but without the side effects because it's a whole food. There are whole foods that mimic these things that chemicals and these poor food quality things do, and I don't know why people use them. Maybe because they're inexpensive, maybe because you can kind of hide them. Like MSG, I believe, is considered as one of these GRAS foods, generally recognized as safe. And so they can put it in under the label of natural flavors. Huge problem. That's why it's good to have a company that you trust. Our stuff is always packaged in BPA free, and 99% of our stuff is in these containers that are biodegradable. So you don't worry about obesogens or environmental factors affecting you as you take these. Very important to reduce your toxic load. So that is the fourth thing, increase toxic load. The fifth thing is a one size fits all approach. That's like this book she's getting into. Well, just fast. Well, that's not for everybody. And then what do? Do you do a 13-hour fast, a 16-hour fast, a 3-day water fast? What do you do? Everybody is unique. Your body is unique. Your circumstances are unique. So it's important to treat yourself as unique. Now, there are some things that all of us can use. We all need sleep. It's important to get good quality sleep. It's important to get super nutrition to hyper nourish the body. And it's really important to have good gut health. We know that those things are all similar for all of us. But beyond that, building a program for yourself, it's important to work with somebody, talk with somebody who can have another perspective, to track what you eat, to take notes on yourself. That's one of the first things they recommend when you want to get healthy. It's like, well, you better start taking notes on what you're eating. That's one of the quickest ways to determine who you are. And that's one of the wonderful things about our program too. It comes with a tracker sheet. Did I drink enough water? Did I take my shake today? And then you can see, okay, is this working for me? And if yes, then you can keep moving in that direction. If no, you know right where you need to make the adjustments. So those are 5 things that I've learned from this book so far. That's just the first chapter. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. I hope that you enjoyed this little recap. Dr. Mindy Pelz, I hope that I did not, what's that called? When you steal somebody else's information. Yeah, I hope that I didn't do that. So I'm just relaying in my own words what I've learned from this book and what I've really loved about this book. And hopefully it will inspire you to read it, to continue to look into health and wellness. And hopefully you can join our program because it's absolutely the easiest way to get healthy. There's no doubt about it. All right, have a wonderful day and keep trying to be healthy.